So in our organization, we like to start off our internal meetings with a positive focus. So Doug hit the perfect song. So with that in mind, look no further for a positive focus in this past weekend where the Bengals won a playoff game for the first time in 31 years. That date, January 6, 1991, it was the last date of victory. And let's look at some perspective here with the stock market. Where was the market back in January of 1991? Well, you can't see the exact number here on this particular chart, but the S&P 500 on January 6, 1991, heading into the weekend with the Houston Oilers, who are now the Tennessee Titans. The market, the S&P closed at 321. Fast forward 31 years after the recent Bengals weekend, and the S&P in recent days closed at 45.57. That's an annualized return of the S&P 500 over that time period of 11.2% per year. I mean, that's an incredible rate of return. The long-term average for the stock market is somewhere between 9 and 11. So during the last 31 years, when you get 11.2, that's fantastic. So we know it's been 31 years since the victory of the Bengals. But Doug, let me ask you a quick question. And when you think about the 31 years, how many years, now we're talking S&P now, not, we're not going to dig up any more about the Bengals. We'll think positive. But with the S&P 500, how many years during that span did the stock market actually return between 9 and 11% in any given year?
That's a good question. I actually know the answer because Casey and I went over this prepping for the webinar, but I think people probably think it's more than the answer actually is. So Casey, why don't you tell them what it actually is?
It's only two. And actually, when you go back 95 plus years, you've only had 3 years in that time span where, in fact, the market even performed anywhere close to the average. So I mentioned that just because we all have experiences. And when we measure the stock market in a given year, we measure and say, hey, was it a good year or not? We often compare it to the average, when in fact the stock market rarely performs to the stock market average. More than 95+% of the time, you're not going to get the average number. So average is not normal. So if we look at this chart a little more, let's look at the market trajectory, what actually in fact happened during those 31 years. We look at this chart. So the market moved in 3 distinct phases during that time frame. The first was 91 to 99, which it's hard to see on the scale of this chart, but that was an incredible bull market that then ended going into the next phase, which was the phase from 2000 to 2009. And that started with the tech bubble, with the market dropping for 3 straight years. Then you had a recovery for a couple of years, only to see the Great Recession start in late 2007 through the spring of 2009. And that was a 10-year period of time that we were glad to see end, but you really had almost no returns in that lost decade. But really from 2009 until 2022, stocks reversed course, and they've been on a tremendous strong bull run ever since. Now, I know sometimes my memory slips me, but and I think my memory wants to slip me and not think about the 2020 market. And you see that blip on the chart there. We had that pandemic-induced recession, which we saw the market drop by almost 35%. It was a matter of weeks, but it turned around very quickly and erased those losses by the end of the year. So we had great momentum after 2020 heading into 2021. Early 2021, you had the news of the vaccine development, and that really helped the market continue to have a very good year. So if we take a recap and take a quick look at 2021, the S&P had a